You're live.
And welcome back for another legislative update on a Monday, along with North Dakota United President Nick Archuleta. I'm Tom Gerhardt, work in the Public Affairs Office. As maybe you read in the current issue of United Voices, I'm right across the hall from Kelly Hagan. So who's taken over my office, I understand now too, since I've been at the Capitol too much. So I'm hoping when I come back there's a mini fridge. And
you know, they say he grows on you, and there's probably a little truth to that.
Well, let's hope that is the case.
Yeah.
So a lot to talk about, and this is my first session from this perspective. And I was talking to somebody today, and I said, it's kind of like an Easter egg hunt, just trying to find, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of things maybe hidden and talked about here and there, but things are starting to come together a little bit.
They are, and in the nick of time, I might say, that it's, we are winding down on the days available to the legislature to meet. As you know, they get to meet for 80 days every 2 years. Despite the well-worn joke about it would be better if they met every 2 days every 80 years. It is what it is. So, yeah, and they wanted to save a few days, as you know, because they may have to come back and do some work, depending on what the Congress and the President do about the Affordable Care Act. So there's still plenty of action going on, but right now I think the vast majority of things have been settled, and but there are still some very big ticket items.
Yeah, of course the budget still continues to be the main point
Precisely.
of contention, and appropriations, trying to figure all that out. We should say before we get going into some of the individual bills, if you have any questions, I've got my Facebook feed open here, and Kelly's here, so if there's anything you'd like to ask or know more about, please type it in the thread on Facebook, and we'll do our best to answer those questions for you. Let's start with, we were in a conference committee room this morning for House Bill 1436. That's the PERS bill, Representative Carlson's delayed bill, which would change the structure of PERS to self-insured from fully insured, which can get pretty complicated. But that was given a do not pass, 5-0 do not pass in the Senate Government and Veterans Affairs this morning.
Yeah, and you know, it wasn't that the bill didn't have a decent hearing. I think that a lot of people went in, particularly on that committee, went in with an open mind, willing to listen to Representative Carlson and his ideas about self-funding. But some of the weaknesses that were in that bill, I think, really came to roost. I mean, no one is against the idea of self-insurance. However, we have a bill right now. The major concerns with it were, of course, the constitutionality thing, where Sanford has a contract that's good until into 2021. Excuse me. It's good until 2021. If they were to change now, the idea, at least from Sanford's point of view, is that they would be in violation of that contract, and then we'd be in court for some expensive litigation. So there was that part. The second part is that what we have isn't just a fully funded plan. It is a hybrid plan that incorporates at least 5 of the 7, I guess you could say, of the benefits for having self-insured already in the fully funded plan, with all the advantages that come with a fully funded plan. And so that was another major concern. And then I think the other big concern was that this bill was just introduced so late that it didn't really get the scrutiny that they would like to give it before making such a big decision on a bill that impacts so many North Dakotans.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It came in so late that I think a lot of people, it seemed like everyone was in favor of the study and really taking a close look at it. We all want what's best for our public employees. And there is a study of that bill in House Bill 1023. Senator Poolman mentioned that again this morning, so that'll get a good hard look during the interim. It looks like, again, this just came out of committee. I think the last bill that GVA had finally kicked it out this morning. So as you mentioned, we're getting close. It's Good Friday this Friday, so we're getting close, and perhaps sometime next week we'll wrap up the session a little bit early.
Yeah, but you know,
perhaps.
The thing about it is that if you have a pool right now, you're in no better shape in your pool than anybody else's. It's first of all, the target date was this Friday, Good Friday, and then, well, you know, it might go a couple of days into next week, and then they kick that down the road a little bit further. So we don't really know.
Nobody. That's kind of the big topic of conversation in the halls. Everybody has a guess. Yeah. It's kind of like the March Madness pool. You know, how's your bracket doing? Well, nobody knows for sure. Tomorrow, a big day. Senate Bill 2186 is the Education Innovation Bill that we've been so fired up here at North Dakota United. Superintendent Baszler has been fired up. We've heard from superintendents in schools across the state. And finally tomorrow we're going to have a bill signing at 2:30, and at 11:30 there's going to be a presentation from DPI, and they're going to give out an innovation award. So kind of a key day for, as you've been quick to point out, innovation's already taking place in our classrooms across the state, but this will be a big boost moving forward.
It sure will. We've, as I mentioned before, I think we already have 4 schools that are preparing plans that are just about ready to submit to take part in some of these waivers that are going to be available under this legislation. Yeah, it's going to be a big thing at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. You mentioned we'll have a signing ceremony with the governor. It is, I believe, a very good day for innovation and education in our state, a good day for students, a good day for teachers, and this really will, I really believe it, that it's going to unlock some of that innovation that we need to see as we go forward into this next century.
And stay tuned, check out our Facebook page tomorrow and our Twitter account. Kelly and I will be hard at work trying to show you some of the sights and sounds of all that's happening tomorrow for that bill.
Yeah.
Senate Bill 2139, now moving along, originated as a bill that dealt with a window where if you didn't have your concealed carry permit on you when you were pulled over, you had 10 days or so to present that. Well, suddenly, a late amendment last week, we got word that an amendment had been made, offered by Representative Gerhardt, that put the words in quotes in there, any elected official. Suddenly, this bill turns into any elected official could carry a concealed weapon in a public building, in a school, at an athletic event or concert, in a church. And so we've been keeping a close eye on that bill as it's headed to conference committee.
Yeah, we are. And before I comment on this, I just wanted to pass along North Dakota United's concern and their best wishes for Representative Gerhardt and his daughter, who was injured in a car accident near Valley City over the weekend, and they're in our thoughts and prayers, of course. But yes, on 2139, we did have some concern with that because it was just basically any elected leader or any elected individual. Right. So if you were elected to the library board, well, right, you could carry a gun to a baseball game or something like that. We want more clear language on that. We still want there to be only law enforcement personnel who are trained to carry guns in schools, and that's kind of where we are.
So we'll keep you updated on that bill as things progress. Senate Bill 2135 is the initiated and referred measure study bill, and initially North Dakota United was a part of the committee that was going to be offered moving forward to take a look at this process.
Exactly, and we should be. We have an awful lot of experience in the referral and the referendum business. We've used it ourselves in the initiated measure. We've used it most recently with Measure 2. So we have some expertise that we bring to the table. I will say that because of ideological differences with some folks in the House, they asked that we be removed. And frankly, this is about as nonpartisan a bill as there can possibly be. It should be treated as such. We do know, though, that it's in conference committee. The folks on the House side who are the conferees are not going to budge on it. I was told this morning, however, though, that there will be an amendment coming forward that would change it to what it was when it came out of the Senate, which included us in that thing and other people with experience in the process. So our chances are probably pretty slim of getting back on there through this process, but we remain hopeful, and we'll keep you updated. In fact, right now, Chad is up there and attending that conference committee meeting.
And just if you're at home and you don't know how the conference committee season works, they call it the third period, I guess, at the session, is 3 members of the House speak with 3 members of the Senate. 2 from each side need to agree on any changes, any differences between the 2 chambers, to come to an agreement to move that bill forward. So as you mentioned, on the House side, we would need 2 of the 3, and it's not looking good to get North Dakota United added back on to that bill.
In fact, from the House side, there was one individual who favored us being on there, and that individual, Pam Anderson from Fargo, was replaced with somebody who for sure doesn't want our participation. So the lines have hardened, and with any luck, though, we will find a way on.
Yeah, ideological differences, probably says it best. Yeah. Senate Bill 2243 was another bill that we were super fired up about as the session went along. Initially, it would have paid back in teacher loan forgiveness up to $25,000 dollars over a 3-year period if you taught in a remote area or a hard to fill subject area.
Right.
That's been whittled down to a study now, and that's in conference committee late this afternoon too.
Yeah, in fact, that's the one that Chad's at right now. I got my bills confused, sorry. But yeah, and that is of some concern for us. We understand, and you'll remember when we first when this bill first came up, it had a $6 million price tag. You know the budget, you know the concerns there. That got whittled down to $2 million, and then now it's been whittled down to a study. But even if it's going to be a study, that may have to do, put a few bucks in there so that we have at least a process so within our budgetary times do turn around, and they will turn around. We actually have a mechanism to move this thing forward. Folks are not going to change their lives radically to up and go to a remote area of North Dakota for $1,000. They just won't do it. The average education graduate, we've talked about this before too, leaves college with about $28,000 in loans. It's going to take something a little bit more significant to move these folks into these areas that desperately need teachers and that have a history of being unable to recruit and retain highly qualified individuals for their classrooms. So if it comes down to that all we can do is put the process in place and wait for the money, that we'll have to do for now, but we are really still working hard to get some funding for this particular legislation.
House Bill 1013 is the Department of Public Instruction budget. That, we learned today, goes to conference committee tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock until about 3:30, so I don't know how much they'll get done. An interesting little tidbit, which I've heard over and over again, is on the Senate side, Senate appropriations under the guidance and leadership of Senator Holmberg. Their overall budget is $7,514 less than the House appropriations, so that's drawn a lot of laughs as Senator Holmberg has continually pointed that out the last couple of weeks. Nevertheless, I think things are looking pretty good, all being said, with the situation of the budget for that DPI budget.
Exactly, and we passed Measure 2, as I've said several times, and that has helped to hold education funding steady. DPI, of course, has all kinds of things that they're responsible for, and so their budget, frankly, is I'm cautiously optimistic that they're going to have what they need to meet their needs and the needs of the students of North Dakota. There has been one of the big concerns in the education funding was there's a pass-through grant that comes through DPI for transportation. Transportation was cut pretty radically, I would say, but about 4.1 million of that. Those dollars have been replaced, so that will help school districts in the rest of the biennium. So we're very, very thankful for that.
Yeah, that was a big piece of the pie, and it sounds like talking to some folks around the Capitol, they can work with that.
Sure.
Having to come up with an additional 4.1 million would have been rough. Kelly on our Facebook page, Nick, has posted a link to getting back to Senate Bill 2135, the initiated and referred measure bill, just an action alert if you'd like to reach out and let your senator or representative know that you'd like North Dakota United's voice to be part of that. We'd sure appreciate it, and at least let them know that we're paying attention across the state to what's
Absolutely.
happening.
I mean, and don't be afraid to tell them when you write your letter or contact them that, come on, let's rise above this partisanship. Let's just go ahead and do what's best for the citizens of North Dakota. North Dakotans love the idea that they have a voice in what laws are made and what laws are referred. They don't want to lose that. I don't think it's the intention of anybody to take that away, but there are some concerns that need to be addressed and need to be discussed. Why not have people that have experience at the table discussing these things? They're very important.
Couple of notes for the next couple of days. The House and Senate will not gavel in tomorrow,
Right.
but they are both have a full day of conference committees, basically from sunup to supper time tomorrow. So we'll be tracking all the important things happening tomorrow. We mentioned one of those is the House Bill 1013, the DPI budget.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that. And then Wednesday, I know the House and Senate, I believe, are going to be on the floor at 8 a.m. So some early work being done that day. And as we head into the end of the week, we're not sure yet what's going to happen on Friday. In the past, you said they've met, they haven't met. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will. We'll wait and see. They're all working out their last schedule. Tomorrow and then the next day, they're not going to gavel in. They can save those days then, so they can come back and do some other work on that ACA bill that we had talked about earlier. That's terrific. Also, tomorrow, Evan Oban officially becomes an Oban. And we are so happy for that sort of thing. And it's going to be a terrific celebration.
Yeah, sometimes the phrase "that's a big deal" gets maybe overstated. In this case, understated.
Yeah, it is. It's a great big deal. Senator Aaron Oban and our executive director Chad Oban have welcomed into their lives a wonderful baby named Evan, who is terrific. Just the smartest kid you'll ever find.
Pretty darn handsome
and
too.
Handsome too. Yeah, no doubt about it. So anyhow, that's going on tomorrow, and that's why, of course, they're not having the legislature.
So I guess that'll wrap things. Yeah, we'll credit that.
Evan Oban Day in North Dakota.
In North Dakota. There will be a proclamation soon. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next Monday. We hope you have a great Easter, and we'll have another list of updates of what's happening as we're really now down to the waning days of the 65th Legislative Assembly.
I'm sure it's just a coincidence that the weather's getting nicer as they're getting closer to finishing. Coincidence, totally. Okay, thank you for joining us.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.